Ladies and gentlemen, are the delicate dance of human nature. Men, as much as they try to appear resolute, are often drawn to the enigma, the mystery. The allure of a woman who detaches that is something they cannot resist. It's almost as if, in the act of stepping back, she entices them to lean in further, to unravel her mind, her essence. You see, there's a primal instinct at play here. Men are not merely creatures of the flesh, they are creatures of conquest. But it's not the conquest of possession that appeals to them. No, it's the pursuit itself. The chase, the uncertainty. A woman who stands apart, who doesn't cling, who has mastered the art of emotional detachment. She ignites a spark, a desire to understand what lies beyond the surface. What does she truly want? What does she think? What could possibly compel her to remain indifferent? It is in this detachment that she holds power, albeit quietly, subtly, not in the grand gestures of manipulation, no. It's in the restraint, in the withholding of the self. She does not throw herself at him. She does not give him everything at once. No, she understands the rhythm of the dance, keeping just enough distance to make him yearn, to make him question, to make him long for what is not readily offered. And yet there lies a great contradiction. Men, in their nature, are often not comfortable with detachment. They seek to resolve uncertainty, to conquer what is elusive. So they are drawn to that very detachment, even as it unnerves them. They want to possess the key to unlock her heart, but every time they believe they've come close, she retreats again. This is the game she plays, and it is one that he cannot help but be drawn into. And there's a deeper truth to this. It is not that men desire women who detach for the sake of conquest alone, but because in that detachment there is a kind of freedom. A reminder that she does not need him, that she stands on her own, that she is not bound by the same societal expectations or emotional traps that so often ensnare. In this independence, this detachment, there is something that appeals to the deepest part of him, an admiration, perhaps even envy for the strength she possesses. But the moment she detaches, she leaves him with no choice but to chase, and chase he will. For a man will always be more intrigued by that which he cannot fully comprehend, that which is just beyond his reach. She holds the power not because she plays games, but because she understands, perhaps better than anyone, that true allure lies in mystery, and men, as much as they may resist, will always be captivated by it. The power of mystery has always been one of the most captivating forces in human relationships. It's an intangible, almost magical quality that sparks curiosity, pulls individuals closer, and stirs emotions that otherwise might remain dormant. Men in particular are drawn to the enigma of a woman who embodies mystery, especially when she chooses to detach emotionally. This detachment is not a sign of disinterest or coldness, but rather a deliberate and powerful stance that creates an aura of intrigue. There is something deeply compelling about the unknown. Human nature is hardwired to seek answers, to solve problems, and to understand the world around them. For a man, this need to comprehend extends beyond the physical world into the emotional realm as well. When a woman chooses to maintain a certain distance, she unknowingly positions herself as a puzzle, a challenge that demands to be solved. She becomes an elusive figure, one whose mind, heart, and intentions are not immediately clear. This mystery creates a magnetism that pulls men toward her, regardless of their initial desires or intentions. The allure of a woman who detaches is rooted in this sense of curiosity. When someone reveals too much too quickly, they present a finished picture, one that can be admired but not explored. There's no depth to probe, no layers to peel back. But when a woman keeps herself just out of reach, when she holds back and refuses to divulge every detail of her inner world, she offers a space for the mind to wander. Men are, often without realizing it, captivated by the opportunity to uncover what lies beneath the surface. What does she truly think? What does she truly feel? These questions linger in the air, stirring a quiet obsession that drives him to seek answers. In this state of emotional detachment, she wields a quiet yet undeniable power. She is not playing games for the sake of manipulation, but rather, she is simply allowing herself to exist on her own terms. The power lies not in forcing distance, but in her natural ability to remain centered and self-contained. She doesn't require validation, doesn't cling, and doesn't rush to give herself away. This creates a subtle tension, a tension that is electric, crackling in the air between them. For the man who seeks her, it becomes a challenge to bridge that gap, to make sense of the ambiguity, and to unravel the layers of her personality, character, and emotions. What makes this dynamic even more intriguing is that it's not just about emotional detachment, it's about the mystery she creates in every interaction. Even in the briefest exchanges, her words might hold an enigmatic quality. A simple gesture might seem layered with meaning, and even in her silence, there may be 1,000 unspoken thoughts and emotions that dance in the background. Every glance, every pause, and every subtle shift in her body language carries a weight that he cannot fully grasp. It keeps him guessing, trying to interpret the hidden meanings behind her actions, and this guessing game is what draws him in further. This mystery also challenges the man's sense of security and comfort. Men are often used to being the ones who lead, who control the narrative, or who know exactly where they stand in a relationship. But a woman who detaches leaves him uncertain. He cannot predict her reactions, and he cannot easily decipher what she truly wants or feels. This uncertainty, although unsettling, has a magnetic quality. It forces him to engage with her on a deeper level, to move beyond the superficialities of typical interactions, and to invest emotionally in a way that is unfamiliar yet compelling. It's a dynamic that shifts the power balance, making him work harder for her attention, her affection, and her trust. In many ways, the allure of mystery taps into something deeper within the psyche, a desire for discovery, a longing to know the unknown. Men may be attracted to a woman who is emotionally detached because she represents an enigma to be unraveled, an invitation to venture into unexplored emotional territory. She doesn't make it easy, but in this challenge, he finds a sense of adventure, of excitement, of the possibility that there is something extraordinary lying just beneath the surface. The more he seeks to understand her, the more she remains a distant figure, drawing him deeper into the puzzle, and the more fascinated he becomes by the layers he has yet to uncover. The mystery of a woman who detaches, then, is not a matter of gamesmanship but of subtlety and self-possession. It's an embodiment of a person who is confident enough in herself to not need to reveal all at once. She holds within her the power of choice, choosing when and how much of herself to share, choosing when to lean in and when to pull back. This measured approach creates an aura of mystery that is both magnetic and irresistible. She doesn't need to chase validation or approval. She is content in her own skin, and this sense of independence is precisely what makes her so fascinating to those around her. It is the power of mystery that captivates, drawing in those who seek not just answers, but the joy of discovery itself. Men are naturally wired for the chase. It's part of their instinctual makeup, an inherent drive that is tied to their sense of accomplishment and achievement. But this drive is not simply about attaining a goal or securing a victory, it's about the process, the pursuit itself. There's a subtle but profound distinction between chasing something that is easily attainable and chasing something that is elusive. When a woman detaches emotionally, when she holds back and refuses to lay all her cards on the table, she becomes the very object of that chase. And it is in the chase, in the striving, that a man finds true fascination. What makes this pursuit so compelling is the inherent uncertainty. Men, often accustomed to being in control, are confronted with something they cannot immediately understand or predict. A woman who chooses emotional detachment is not making herself distant or cold. She is merely refusing to conform to traditional expectations of emotional availability. She presents herself as a mystery to be unraveled, a puzzle that is far from easy to solve. In doing so, she sparks a desire to figure her out, to understand her inner world, to break through the barriers she has put up. This sense of uncertainty and the inability to quickly resolve it draws men in deeper. There is a profound attraction to what is hidden, to what lies beneath the surface. The chase is not simply about gaining access to her heart or winning her affection, it's about deciphering the enigma of who she is. In many ways, men are not just seeking a relationship, but are seeking to unlock the complexity of a woman who refuses to be understood at a glance. There's a thrill in that challenge, an intellectual, emotional engagement that goes beyond superficial attraction. The process of chasing a woman who detaches emotionally also brings an element of competition into play. It's not a competition with others, but with oneself. Men often find themselves in a race against time, striving to connect, to understand, and to break through the emotional distance. Every small victory in this pursuit, a smile, a shared glance, a moment of connection, feels like a hard-won achievement. But just as he believes he's making progress, just as he feels as though he's getting closer, she may withdraw again, throwing him back into a state of uncertainty. This cycle keeps him engaged, keeps him chasing. The emotional distance she maintains constantly reminds him that he is not the one in control, which only serves to heighten the thrill of the pursuit. A woman who detaches is not playing games, though. The detachment comes from a place of self-assurance and independence, not manipulation. It is her emotional strength and her sense of self that make her so compelling. She does not need to chase or seek approval from anyone. This independence is a key part of the chase for the man. He is not only pursuing her for the sake of winning her over, he is also pursuing a sense of self-doubt, self-exploration, and even challenge. In many ways, it's the very fact that she is not emotionally dependent or readily available that makes her so intriguing. Moreover, the detachment allows a woman to move at her own pace, setting the terms of engagement. This provides a sense of freedom and control that is intoxicating to the man who seeks her. The dynamic is one of mutual respect and acknowledgement of boundaries. In this space, the chase becomes an act of discovery rather than manipulation. He is discovering not only her emotional world, but also the nature of his own desires. In chasing her, he often finds himself questioning what it is he truly wants, what it is that drives him, and whether he is willing to invest in the effort it takes to truly understand her. Men, too, are often driven by the need for validation. The pursuit of a woman who is emotionally detached serves as a challenge to their ego and their sense of worth. If a woman who maintains emotional distance is willing to engage with him, it feels like a victory, an indication that he has succeeded in earning her attention, that he has cracked the code. But of course, the detachment also creates moments of doubt. A part of him may wonder if she truly cares or if she is simply being polite. This uncertainty only adds to the complexity of the chase, creating a deeper emotional connection to the pursuit itself. There's a constant balancing act between progress and setback, between winning small moments of connection and enduring the emotional distance that still exists. Ultimately, the chase is not just about gaining emotional intimacy, but about the process of self-discovery. As a man chases a woman who detaches emotionally, he learns more about himself, his desires, his vulnerabilities, and his capacity for patience and persistence. The emotional journey is as important as the destination, and with every step he takes in understanding her, he uncovers more about his own capacity to love, connect, and grow. The detachment she offers forces him to dig deeper into his own emotions, to push past surface-level attractions, and to seek something more profound. In this light, the chase becomes a profound journey, one that transforms both parties involved. For the man, it's not simply about winning the prize of her affection, it's about navigating the emotional terrain that separates them, testing his limits, and discovering the richness of a connection that is not immediately given, but earned through patience, understanding, and a willingness to invest in the pursuit. And for the woman, her emotional detachment is not a wall to keep him out, but an invitation to explore the depths of who she is, if he dares to venture beyond the surface. Emotional restraint is an art that few truly understand, yet it is one of the most powerful tools a person can wield in relationships. For a woman who practices emotional detachment, restraint becomes a delicate but profound expression of her strength. She does not immediately offer all of herself, and in doing so she holds a quiet power. This power is not about manipulating the situation or playing games. Rather, it lies in her ability to maintain composure, to guard her emotions, and to remain self-possessed in the face of external pressure. Her detachment, then, is not an indication of indifference or aloofness, but a deliberate choice to preserve her emotional integrity, to withhold her deepest feelings until the moment is right. For men, this emotional restraint is magnetic. The lack of immediate emotional availability creates a sense of mystery that makes her more compelling. When a woman reveals too much of herself too soon, she risks losing the intrigue that draws people in. But when she chooses to withhold, when she allows her emotional responses to unfold gradually, it leaves space for a man to wonder, what does she really feel? What does she truly think? The restraint she exercises in not giving everything away at once leaves these questions hanging in the air, encouraging him to seek out the answers. There is something inherently alluring in the idea of discovering someone slowly, at a pace that respects both the emotional landscape of the individual and the evolving nature of their connection. This emotional restraint is not a sign of weakness or fear. In fact, it is a mark of emotional strength. A woman who can detach emotionally does so not because she is unable to connect, but because she chooses not to offer herself fully until she feels it is earned. In doing so, she asserts her boundaries and declares that she is not easily won over by charm, attention, or superficial gestures. The depth of her emotions is not something to be given away casually. It is a gift that requires time, trust, and understanding. This refusal to become emotionally available too quickly is an expression of her self-respect and her recognition of her own worth. She understands that emotional intimacy is something that should be cultivated, not rushed, and that it must be built on a foundation of mutual respect and understanding. For a man, the emotional distance that she maintains often prompts a sense of yearning, a desire to break through the emotional barriers she has constructed. There is a pull to try and connect with her on a deeper level, but this yearning is tempered by the understanding that she will not give herself away easily. This creates a dynamic where the man must prove his worth, not by his words or outward gestures, but through his actions, his consistency, and his patience. The detachment, then, becomes a way for the woman to measure his commitment and his emotional maturity. It is an invitation to demonstrate that he is not simply interested in fleeting connection, but in something deeper and more meaningful. She does not make it easy, but in doing so, she challenges him to rise to the occasion, to show that he is capable of emotional depth, patience, and understanding. In relationships, it is often easy to become overwhelmed by emotions. The desire for closeness, for instant connection, can lead to hasty decisions and rushed attachments. But emotional restraint, particularly when practiced by a woman who has learned to detach, teaches the importance of pacing. It emphasizes that relationships, particularly deep and meaningful ones, should not be rushed. By maintaining emotional distance, she fosters a sense of anticipation, encouraging the man to appreciate her for who she is, rather than rushing to claim her for the sake of having her. The connection that develops from such restraint is far richer, as it is not built on quick emotional exchanges, but on a deeper understanding that comes only with time. This act of emotional restraint is also a form of self-protection. A woman who detaches emotionally understands that giving away too much of oneself can leave one vulnerable to hurt, disappointment, and manipulation. By withholding her deepest feelings, she ensures that her emotional well-being is preserved and that she does not open herself to harm too soon. This self-protection does not come from a place of fear, but from wisdom and self-awareness. She knows that emotional intimacy is a sacred space that requires trust, and that only in a healthy, respectful relationship should that space be shared. In maintaining her emotional boundaries, she signals to the man that she values herself enough not to settle for anything less than genuine emotional connection. For the man who is interested in her, this emotional restraint can be a lesson in how to appreciate and respect emotional boundaries. In a world where instant gratification often reigns, where everything from love to validation is sought after quickly, the woman who detaches teaches a different pace. She teaches that emotional intimacy is something that should be earned, that respect is an essential foundation, and that true connection comes not from rushing to fill an emotional void, but from the patient cultivation of mutual understanding and trust. As a result, her emotional restraint becomes a guide, showing the man not only the value of emotional self-sufficiency, but also the power of a deep, slowly unfolding connection. The beauty of emotional restraint is that it is a sign of maturity. It is a demonstration of emotional intelligence, of the ability to understand the value of timing, of the importance of waiting until both parties are ready to engage on a deeper level. This restraint becomes a powerful signal that a woman is not interested in superficiality or in rushing towards something that may not last. She seeks authenticity and emotional depth. And it is in this space, created by her emotional distance, that a man can truly appreciate her understanding, that the most meaningful connections take time to build, and that the reward for patience and understanding is an emotional bond that is deep, real, and enduring. The concept of conquest is deeply ingrained in human nature, and for men it often manifests in their relationships and interactions with women. However, it's important to understand that this conquest is not necessarily about domination or possession in the traditional sense. Instead, it's about the pursuit of something that is not easily attained, the thrill of chasing something elusive, and the sense of satisfaction that comes with overcoming challenges. A woman who emotionally detaches represents a unique kind of challenge for a man, a pursuit that stirs his deepest instincts and drives his desire to connect. A man is often drawn to the idea of conquest not because he seeks to control or possess, but because he wants to understand, to explore, and to overcome obstacles that stand in his way. The pursuit itself, rather than the outcome, is what often fuels his desire. When a woman maintains emotional distance, she becomes the obstacle, the challenge, the puzzle he needs to solve. Her detachment creates a sense of mystery and intrigue, igniting a deep need within him to understand what makes her tick, what she truly desires, and what drives her emotional world. This emotional distance is not something to be overcome through force or manipulation, but through patience, persistence, and the willingness to engage on a deeper level. This dynamic can be compared to a game of chess, where every move is calculated and each step brings him closer to understanding the woman. It is not a simple victory where the man wins her affection with a few grand gestures. Instead, it is a prolonged effort that requires strategy, patience, and an understanding of the subtle cues she gives. The detachment she maintains forces him to slow down, to think critically about his approach, and to invest time and energy into unraveling her emotional world. Every gesture, every word, every small breakthrough feels like a triumph, and yet just when he thinks he is getting closer, she may retreat again, forcing him to start over. This cyclical process, where progress and setbacks are intertwined, creates an ongoing emotional engagement that keeps him coming back for more. For many men, this pursuit is not just about winning her over, it's about proving to themselves that they are capable of navigating emotional complexity. The woman who detaches emotionally represents a test, a measure of their own emotional maturity and their ability to understand and connect with someone on a deeper level. It requires more than just surface-level charm or the ability to sweep her off her feet. It requires a commitment to the process of discovery, a willingness to engage with the mystery she presents, and a deep respect for her emotional boundaries. This type of conquest is one that challenges the man to grow emotionally, to learn how to be patient, and to develop the ability to connect with someone who is not immediately available. The idea of emotional detachment also taps into a deeper aspect of human psychology. Men are often driven by the desire to achieve, to overcome challenges, and to prove their worth. When faced with a woman who emotionally detaches, he is presented with a challenge that he may feel compelled to conquer. But this is not a conquest in the traditional sense. He is not simply trying to win her over through forceful or manipulative tactics. Instead, he is engaging in a process of emotional exploration, attempting to connect with her in a way that respects her boundaries and her emotional independence. This makes the conquest more meaningful, as it is based on mutual respect rather than control. The woman who detaches emotionally also gives the man the space to grow, both as an individual and as a partner. She does not immediately fall into his arms, and she does not eagerly open up her heart to him. Instead, she forces him to look beyond the surface, to dig deeper, and to build a connection that is based on more than just superficial attraction. This detachment allows the man to explore his own emotional vulnerabilities, to confront his own fears of rejection, and to learn how to approach relationships with emotional maturity. In many ways, the pursuit of a woman who detaches emotionally becomes a journey of self-discovery for the man, a way for him to understand what he truly values in a relationship and what he is willing to invest in order to make it work. The emotional distance a woman maintains also creates a power dynamic that is both subtle and significant. Men are often used to being the ones in control of the narrative, of being the ones who initiate or lead in relationships. But when a woman detaches, she shifts the power dynamic, placing the emotional control in her hands. She does not need to be constantly sought after or validated, and this independence gives her a quiet strength that is incredibly attractive to many men. It is this strength, this sense of emotional self-sufficiency, that makes her so compelling. The challenge for the man becomes not just about winning her affection, but about understanding and respecting the boundaries she sets. In this context, the detachment is not an obstacle to be overcome in a negative sense. It is a gateway to a deeper and more meaningful connection. The pursuit is no longer about proving that he can win her over through traditional means. It is about learning how to engage with her on her terms, respecting her emotional boundaries, and earning her trust. This journey is far more rewarding because it is based on the gradual unfolding of emotional intimacy, rather than rushing into something that may not be sustainable. The conquest, therefore, becomes a reflection of the man's emotional growth, his willingness to evolve, and his ability to build a connection that is built on respect, understanding, and patience. In the end, the conquest of a woman who emotionally detaches is not just about winning her over. It is about navigating the emotional landscape she presents and learning how to create something meaningful and lasting with her. The pursuit itself is transformative, challenging both parties to engage with each other in ways that are genuine and respectful, and ultimately leading to a deeper, more authentic connection. Emotional detachment in a woman creates a dynamic where men are often required to navigate through layers of uncertainty, and it is precisely this uncertainty that fuels a man's attraction and investment. Uncertainty in human relationships can be a double-edged sword. It can cause discomfort and doubt, but it also has the potential to heighten the emotional stakes and drive individuals to invest more in the pursuit of connection. For a man, the uncertainty of a woman who is emotionally distant or detached presents an opportunity to demonstrate his commitment, patience, and emotional depth, and in doing so, he feels a sense of satisfaction and accomplishment when he succeeds in breaking through that barrier. This uncertainty becomes a source of attraction because it creates an emotional challenge that he feels compelled to solve. When a woman maintains emotional detachment, her feelings and desires are not immediately clear. She may offer only fragmented pieces of herself, giving just enough for the man to feel that there is something deeper, but not enough to fully understand or possess. This makes the emotional connection feel like an open-ended mystery, and the natural instinct of a man is to seek resolution. In the absence of clear emotional cues, a man is left to interpret her actions, her words, and her silence. This lack of clarity can become magnetic in its own right. The questions surrounding her true emotions, intentions, and desires linger in his mind, keeping him engaged. It sparks curiosity, and curiosity fuels desire. The more a man is unable to figure her out, the more invested he becomes in solving the puzzle. This emotional detachment, therefore, presents a form of emotional resistance. It is a resistance that does not involve out rejection or avoidance, but rather an invitation to invest more emotionally, mentally, and even physically. Every effort made to bridge the gap between them becomes a form of progress, no matter how small. For the man, it is a test of his patience, his resolve, and his understanding of emotional boundaries. Each step he takes toward understanding her is marked by moments of uncertainty. Does she like him? Does she care? Is she emotionally available? These questions remain unanswered, and this uncertainty becomes a motivating force in his desire to break through the emotional wall she has built. The unpredictability of her responses is another powerful aspect of this uncertainty. In many cases, men are accustomed to predictable emotional patterns. They may come to expect a certain level of warmth, affection, or interest when they express their feelings or desires. However, when a woman emotionally detaches, she introduces an element of unpredictability. Her reactions may be inconsistent, sometimes warm and inviting, other times distant and aloof. This inconsistency creates a dynamic where the man must constantly adjust his approach, recalibrate his expectations, and consider new ways of connecting. It challenges him to think on his feet, to adapt, and to learn more about her on a deeper level. The emotional unpredictability she introduces keeps him on his toes, preventing him from becoming complacent or assuming that he knows everything there is to know about her. The allure of uncertainty also lies in the fact that it keeps the emotional connection fresh and ever-evolving. In relationships that lack emotional detachment, it's easy to fall into patterns of familiarity that can sometimes dull the excitement or spark. But with a woman who is emotionally detached, there is no such danger. Every interaction, every conversation, every moment of connection feels significant because it is not entirely predictable. She does not make it easy for him to feel secure in his understanding of her, which means that each new discovery about her is exciting and meaningful. He cannot take anything for granted. The emotional distance forces him to approach every moment with intention, which can make the experience of connection feel much more profound and rewarding. For a man, this uncertainty also allows space for self-reflection. As he engages with a woman who is emotionally distant, he must confront his own feelings and reactions. How does he deal with uncertainty? How does he respond to emotional distance? Does he become frustrated, or does he continue to show patience and resilience? These are questions that often arise when a man is emotionally invested in someone who is not immediately forthcoming with her feelings. In dealing with this uncertainty, he may learn more about his own emotional maturity, his ability to handle ambiguity, and his capacity to remain composed and understanding even in the face of emotional resistance. Uncertainty also brings out the best in a man when it comes to his pursuit of emotional depth. When a woman keeps herself emotionally detached, she sets the stage for him to prove that he is capable of more than just a fleeting connection. He must show through his actions, his words, and his commitment that he is willing to put in the effort to gain her trust and emotional openness. The uncertainty forces him to go deeper, to invest more, and to demonstrate that he is not simply interested in short-term gratification, but is looking for something deeper, something meaningful. This is a powerful incentive for a man to invest his time and energy in the relationship, to go beyond surface-level attraction and into the realm of emotional intimacy. Furthermore, uncertainty heightens the emotional tension between two people. This tension can be intoxicating, creating a powerful push and pull dynamic that draws them closer. The emotional detachment she maintains creates space for longing, for desire, and for anticipation. As the man experiences moments of doubt and yearning, he is driven to pursue a deeper connection. This dynamic can be transformative for both parties as it encourages the development of a more profound emotional bond over time. Each breakthrough, each moment where he feels he has come closer to understanding her, becomes more rewarding because it is achieved through effort and perseverance rather than immediate emotional availability. In this way, uncertainty becomes a catalyst for emotional growth. For the man, the constant engagement with emotional ambiguity forces him to expand his emotional capacities, to understand the importance of patience, and to embrace the mystery that exists in every connection. The emotional detachment of the woman does not close off the possibility of connection. Rather, it enriches it by making every step toward emotional closeness feel earned and significant. This creates a deeper, more lasting bond that is not easily shaken by the ebbs and flows of emotional availability. The uncertainty fosters a relationship dynamic where both parties can discover more about each other, not just on a surface level, but in the deepest emotional sense. In relationships, emotional depth is often what distinguishes a fleeting connection from a lasting one. When a woman maintains emotional detachment, she creates an environment where the emotional bond is built on a more deliberate foundation. For a man, the process of establishing this bond becomes a journey of discovery. It is a slow-burning connection that requires time, effort, and emotional maturity to truly develop. This is where the power of emotional detachment lies. It forces both parties to slow down, to pay attention to the small moments, and to invest in emotional intimacy that cannot be rushed. A woman who emotionally detaches does not make her emotions readily available. She does not immediately open up or wear her heart on her sleeve. This sense of withholding forces the man to engage with her on a deeper level. Instead of simply relying on external gestures or the immediate gratification of affection, he is invited into a process of emotional connection that requires patience, attentiveness, and trust. There is something inherently rewarding about this kind of slow, burning emotional connection. It's not built on quick emotional highs, but on the steady progression of mutual understanding and shared vulnerability. This depth, built over time, is far more meaningful than the superficial emotional exchanges that can sometimes define early interactions. The emotional detachment of a woman creates a space in which the man must reflect on his own emotions. Rather than being swept up in the excitement of a quick connection, he is forced to contemplate the true nature of his feelings for her. Does he truly care about her? Or is he simply chasing the thrill of emotional closeness? Is he willing to wait for her to open up, or does he want instant gratification? These questions help him develop emotional self-awareness. He begins to understand that true emotional connection does not happen overnight, and that it requires both time and effort to build a foundation that can withstand the challenges of a real, lasting relationship. For a man who values emotional depth, the emotional detachment of a woman is not a deterrent but a challenge. He recognizes that emotional depth cannot be easily attained. It's not something that can be purchased or won through grand gestures. It is something that must be earned through consistent, meaningful engagement. A woman who holds back her emotions is not shutting him out. Rather, she is allowing him the opportunity to prove that he is worthy of her trust and affection. She does not give away her emotions lightly because she understands the value of emotional vulnerability. In turn, this makes the emotional bond they build together more valuable. The emotional distance she maintains also serves as a barometer for the man's own emotional intelligence. As he interacts with her, he is forced to learn how to read her subtle cues, how to pick up on nonverbal signals, and how to approach emotional intimacy with patience and respect. These are skills that are not easily developed but are crucial for cultivating a deep emotional connection. The man must understand that emotional intimacy is not about forcing someone to open up. It's about creating a safe, nurturing environment in which both individuals can be vulnerable with one another at their own pace. This slow approach to emotional intimacy fosters a deeper understanding of one another. In relationships where emotions are freely shared from the start, it is easy to overlook the more nuanced aspects of a person's character. But when a woman withholds her emotions, the man is encouraged to explore her complexity, to learn more about her on a deeper level. He is not simply connecting with the surface version of her, but is instead invited to understand her at a more profound emotional level. Each piece of herself that she chooses to reveal becomes a precious discovery, and the process of unveiling these layers becomes an enriching experience for both parties. The emotional detachment also allows for greater emotional independence. A woman who does not immediately depend on the man for emotional validation creates an environment where both individuals are encouraged to maintain their own emotional boundaries. This emotional independence is crucial for a balanced and healthy relationship. It teaches both partners that their worth is not contingent on the other person's emotional responses. Instead, they learn to build their own emotional resilience and to engage in the relationship from a place of personal strength. This sense of independence does not create distance, it actually fosters a deeper emotional connection because both individuals come into the relationship as whole, self-sufficient people rather than seeking emotional fulfillment solely from the other person. In relationships where emotional detachment is present, there is often a greater sense of emotional balance. The woman is not immediately giving all of herself away, and the man is not relying solely on her for emotional fulfillment. Instead, both parties learn how to create a stable emotional foundation that is built on mutual respect, understanding, and patience. This allows for a deeper connection to unfold over time, one that is not based on fleeting emotional highs, but on a shared commitment to emotional growth and connection. Emotional depth is also tied to the concept of trust. In relationships where one person emotionally detaches, the trust that is built becomes more meaningful. The man understands that he cannot force her to open up or to share her emotions before she is ready. This builds a sense of trust that is rooted in respect for each other's emotional pace and boundaries. As he respects her detachment and continues to engage with her on a deeper level, the trust between them deepens. This mutual trust creates a safe space in which both individuals can slowly and carefully reveal their emotions, knowing that they are doing so in a relationship that values emotional depth and respect. In relationships characterized by emotional detachment, the man is not simply seeking to win her affection. He is seeking to build something real, something deep. This slow approach to emotional connection encourages both individuals to engage in a process of discovery, to peel back the layers of each other's emotional worlds in a way that fosters true intimacy. Emotional depth is not something that can be rushed or forced. It is something that grows over time, nurtured by respect, patience, and the willingness to invest emotionally. The emotional detachment that a woman maintains is not a barrier but a gateway to a deeper, more meaningful connection, a connection that is built on the solid foundation of mutual understanding and shared vulnerability. The emotional detachment a woman maintains is a powerful tool in shifting the balance of power in a relationship. And for many men, this shift is incredibly attractive. Typically, relationships often have a subtle dynamic of power, whether consciously or unconsciously, where one partner may take on a more dominant or emotionally open role, while the other plays a more passive or reserved part. However, when a woman chooses to emotionally detach, she redefines this balance. She is no longer the person who is constantly offering emotional reassurance or wearing her vulnerability on her sleeve. Instead, she is taking control of her emotional landscape, allowing herself the space to process feelings on her own terms, and in doing so, she becomes a figure of power and emotional autonomy. For a man, this shift in power dynamics is particularly intriguing because it challenges the norms he might be accustomed to. Men are often socialized to seek validation and reassurance from others, particularly in relationships. They might take on the role of emotionally guiding their partners, believing that offering support and showing emotional openness makes them indispensable. However, when a woman emotionally detaches, she does not require constant validation from him. She shows that she has the ability to regulate her emotions independently and does not need to rely on external sources to fill her emotional needs. This level of self-sufficiency and independence can be incredibly appealing to a man because it forces him to look at the relationship in a new light. This shift of power is also significant because it places emotional control back in the woman's hands. She is the one who decides when and how much of her emotional world she is willing to share, creating an emotional space that is uniquely hers. This emotional autonomy creates a sense of mystery, as the man must work harder to understand her needs and feelings. It is not as easy as offering affection or support. Instead, he must become attuned to her emotional rhythm and learn how to interact with her in a way that respects her boundaries and her emotional independence. This process becomes a challenge that many men find incredibly stimulating. The idea of pursuing someone who is emotionally self-contained taps into a deep instinct to explore and understand the unknown, and in many cases this challenge can become the central dynamic of the relationship. The attraction to this shift in power is also rooted in a psychological need to feel wanted. When a woman emotionally detaches, it can create a scenario where the man must earn her affection rather than simply receiving it as a given. The emotional distance she maintains forces him to prove that he is worth her time, energy, and affection. In many relationships, men are accustomed to a certain level of emotional accessibility from their partners. However, when that access is not readily available, it makes the relationship feel more high stakes, and the man often becomes more driven to invest. The need to prove oneself can be powerful and motivating, and this dynamic of earning affection becomes a key aspect of the attraction for many men. Additionally, when a woman emotionally detaches, she is not chasing after constant validation or reassurance. This behavior challenges the traditional roles often present in relationships, where one person might be more emotionally expressive while the other plays a more reserved role. The woman's emotional detachment highlights her ability to hold her own emotionally without being dependent on her partner for emotional sustenance. This makes her not only an intriguing figure, but also one who is seen as strong and capable of maintaining her own sense of self, regardless of the dynamics of the relationship. For many men, this strength is incredibly alluring because it indicates emotional maturity and a deep sense of independence. It represents someone who is not easily swayed or manipulated, and that sense of inner strength can evoke both respect and attraction. The power dynamic shifts in such a way that the man often finds himself in the position of having to emotionally win her over. He must prove that he is not just interested in the superficial aspects of the relationship, but that he values her on a deeper level. The emotional detachment she maintains forces him to go beyond simple courtship tactics and gestures. He must become more attuned to her emotional state, respect her boundaries, and learn to navigate the subtle complexities of her emotional world. This creates a deeper level of emotional engagement and challenges the man to engage with her at a level that feels more authentic, more substantial. The emotional connection, therefore, is built on a foundation of mutual respect and emotional intelligence, rather than simply chasing the idea of winning her affection. Moreover, this shift in power can lead to greater emotional maturity in the man. As the woman emotionally detaches, the man is confronted with the reality that relationships are not just about mutual affection and surface-level connection. They require a deeper understanding, patience, and the ability to respect the emotional boundaries of the other person. The emotional detachment forces him to confront his own emotional insecurities, his need for validation, and his capacity to deal with emotional uncertainty. Rather than simply seeking out the warmth and affection of his partner, he is challenged to develop emotional resilience and maturity. This shift allows him to grow as an individual, learning how to manage his emotions and expectations in a more balanced and healthy way. The power dynamic can also flip in more subtle ways. When the woman emotionally detaches, she maintains a sense of control over the emotional pace of the relationship. She is not immediately available to validate or reinforce the man's feelings. Instead, she may be less responsive or more elusive, forcing the man to adapt his approach and become more attuned to her needs. This keeps the relationship from becoming stagnant, as both parties are constantly adjusting and recalibrating their emotional engagement with one another. It prevents complacency and encourages a relationship dynamic that is more dynamic and engaging, where both individuals are constantly learning about each other and themselves. For some men, this shift in power dynamics also provides a sense of emotional excitement. The uncertainty of not knowing exactly where the woman stands emotionally can evoke feelings of desire and longing. The emotional detachment she maintains creates a dynamic where the man is continually invested in understanding her more deeply. He is not simply going through the motions of a predictable emotional exchange, but is instead involved in a process of continuous emotional discovery. This ongoing emotional tension can heighten the sense of attraction as the man is constantly challenged to earn her trust and affection, creating an emotional intensity that is both compelling and captivating. In this way, emotional detachment does not create a barrier to intimacy, but instead facilitates a deeper and more complex connection. It shifts the power dynamic in the relationship, making the man not only more invested but also more emotionally engaged. The detachment becomes a catalyst for growth, both personal and relational, and leads to a connection that is not easily attained or lost. By maintaining control over her emotional availability, the woman creates an environment where the emotional exchange is not one-sided, but is instead characterized by mutual respect, effort, and a deepened emotional connection. The shift in power becomes an invitation for both partners to engage with one another on a deeper and more meaningful level. In conclusion, emotional detachment in a woman reshapes the power dynamic in a relationship, compelling men to invest more deeply, proving their worth through patience, understanding, and emotional maturity. It fosters emotional growth for both partners, encouraging a deeper, more meaningful connection built on mutual respect and effort. This challenge heightens attraction, creating a dynamic that is both engaging and lasting.